which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Under guests, we don't have one, but we should have. Keith Glazer from the Auburn Fire Department. This is, well, you let them know why you're here.
Sure. Just take a couple minutes of your time. At your guys' organizational meeting, you appointed two of your trustees to the Volunteer Firefighters Dependent Fund Board. PJ was reappointed. I'm not sure who was the second person you guys appointed.
Mr. Davis.
Perfect. Put it down there. In turn, we have also appointed two members from the fire department to the board under the state fire marshal law. We need to meet. My other person couldn't be here tonight, but that's fine. And we need to appoint a fifth member who's not associated with the township or with the fire department, and just a resident of the community. So that's what this is about. We need to figure out, and who's the chairman and who's the secretary. Since you're the chairman of the board, I would say let's nominate you to be chairman.
But I'm not part of it.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so we need a chairman. That's right.
See, you think I don't pay attention?
Yeah, that was a test. Would either of you gentlemen like to be chairman for this year?
Well, he's vice chairman, so.
Okay, that's
we
fine.
just stick
And then
with the
I will
pecking
put my
order.
hat in the ring to be secretary, since I'm secretary over there. So we just need a...
One of those things, God forbid we ever have to use.
Yeah, but
So-
for anybody else to know, the Volunteer Firefighters Dependents Fund is a organization at the state. We pay into it as a volunteer fire department, and it's used in the case of a line of death duty or serious disability. Funding comes from them to the individual involved. And this committee is tasked with facilitating all of that should it happen. We've never had it meet over the years, which is great. I'd like to keep it that way, but this one here, we're checking all the boxes on the states.
And again, it's, I don't have the current figures, but there's an additional payment and monthly payments to the spouse, and for children, there's a...
Yes, yep, yeah, it's worthwhile. And again, they assess us over the course of the year when the fund dips below a certain level, so it's $150 or so a shot, and there might be 2 or 3 of those payments over the course of the year.
I think it's mandatory,
Mandatory for township, is voluntary for private fire companies. We can belong, we don't have to, we choose to. If it's a township organization, then you have to.
All right, but again, has to be a volunteer. Okay, if it's not a volunteer, this only applies to volunteers.
True, and you and I had a conversation earlier, and I'm going to validate that to make sure that we still qualify within the, realms of the powers that be, since we do pay our people, making sure.
If you research in the volunteer fire departments, you kind of have a varying descriptions of what's actually a volunteer fire department. It used to be, back in the day, it was strictly, yes, everybody volunteered, but then there were stipends involved and things slowly, and then trainings, and then, so it's gotten to the point where, at what time do you stop being volunteer and actually be a paid department? So we're just getting that clarified.
Yep. The fifth member currently is Carl Schneider. He has been for the last couple of years.
Well, since Carl's not here right now, I will nominate Carl Snyder to continue in that role, since he can't defend himself, and I think we did it to him last year at the same time.
So
That's about right.
that's about right. So I have his information, so I will get the online, get into the portal and get it filed online. And we'll be all set for this year.
So just that, I'll make a motion to appoint Carl Schneider as the fifth representative.
I'll second it.
And thank you for your time.
Oh, PJ?
Yep.
Riley?
Yes.
Michael? Yes. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have minute approval for the January 5th organizational meeting. I found it very lengthy.
Yeah, I got through them. Looked at some stuff today up here. There was there's a mention of a fire prevention officer and a mention of a fire chief.
Okay, we got that rectified.
We got that fixed, did we?
Yeah, because, it should specifically state what we did is that it's the appointment of a fire prevention officer, that's what we do.
Okay. So
Under the
that's,
code, he then acts as chief. But we're
That's-
appointing the fire prevention officer, and that's what
so
and it
that's,
should reflect, which I believe you
No, we did not.
did not want.
We did not reflect that, change that, because that's what was said, that's, the motion reads, I, Patrick J. Kavanaugh, move, seconded by Michael S. Troyne, to reappoint John L. Phillips as Auburn Township Fire Chief. So, until that motion gets changed, we can't change the record.
Okay.
do you want it rescinded? Do you want a motion to rescind that
You're the
motion?
board, I'm not the board.
Yes,
Oh,
we did.
thank you for recognizing that. Yes,
Confused there for a while.
I will make a motion to rescind that particular motion.
Second?
PJ,
Yes,
Riley,
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
and I'll make a replacement motion to appoint John Phillips as fire prevention officer for this calendar year.
Second?
PJ,
Yes.
Riley,
No.
Michael.
Yes.
Okay, so the thing to do here would be to change fire chief to fire prevention officer, initial it, and then you can sign it.
Okay. Are there any other changes or issues?
I did not see any further discrepancies, so, no, not from me.
Okay, I have a motion to approve as amended.
So moved.
PJ,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
I'll second that,
Okay.
but, yes. Okay, so. All right, so I'm going to sign the minutes. And sign them on the back, initial the change. Okay. All right, scheduled reports, Chief Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Report of calls for 2025. EMS calls, we had 642. Previous year, we had 669. Fire calls, we had 442. Previous year was 384. Total calls is 1,084. Previous year was 1,053. Mutual aid given is 264. Previous year was 231. Mutual aid received was 163, previous year was 77. Total transports, 434, previous year was 422. Total non-transports is 265, previous year was 276. Total transfers to other agencies, 5, previous year was 2. Total patients was 704, previous year was 700. Percentage of multiple calls is 26.75%. Previous year was 21.65%. That's it for my report of calls.
Okay. Boards have any questions or for the chief?
I do not at this time.
Okay, anybody in public would like to make any questions, comments for the chief? Okay. Thank you, Chief Phillips. All right. Trustee and fiscal officer reports. PJ.
Yeah, as you might imagine, what with all the snow plowing, it's been active, so the two biggest things going on with the trucks right now is we're doing brakes on number 16, And I think I know I signed a requisition last week to get started on it, so there might be something floating around here tonight. And Thursday, I guess it was, Fenstermaker's truck, well, he had fear that it was engine related, but it dropped the turbo and he had to half power it back to the garage in the midst of that storm. Towed it down to, we're using this T&L truck service now down in Manaway on 82. And we've had some good luck with them, and that's where that one is. But what they discovered was, rather than being what we feared, well, this might be a good news, I don't know, but it's wiring. It's something electrical, which can be fun to diagnose. But it doesn't seem to be strictly mechanical, and that was the fear. Wednesday, I'm a part of the Ohio Public Works Commission Integrating Committee, which ostensibly approves projects through OPWC funding. Originally, it was known as Issue 2, but it's the Ohio Public Works Commission. And our application our joint application for Crackle Road, the two western sections, was approved with room to spare. We generally wind up right around the cutoff line, but we made it by several points this time. So that's $300,000 towards that project. Should be 50% funded. Manaway will provide 150. We're in for 150, and that's for OPWC around 40. We also were encouraged to make another application in short order. Apparently, there's been some funds come back from projects that had been languishing, and some larger cities in our district turned some money back, and there's some other funds that they discovered somewhere. But we're going to make an immediate application in May this year for another project, and Fenstermaker and county engineer, and I guess the one that comes to mind first is Stafford Road East, because that's kind of the last piece of our east-west routes that hasn't been addressed. But we're going to look at that a little bit. We'll probably end up going with the engineer's recommendation, and I know Fenstermaker would prefer to address that piece of road.
How long is that section?
That's got to be maybe 1.1, something like that. I think it's slightly more than a mile.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
that's from 40.
Doable, but that would be a significant amount.
It's pretty similar to the piece of Stafford we did 2 years ago, 44 to Messenger. I think the length is pretty similar. And the road conditions are kind of similar too. It's narrow in places. There's been extensive patching. You try to drive that at the speed limit, it'll throw you about. You might get a little bit seasick. But that's the one that pops to mind first. We're going to look at it a little bit. Of course, the applications are due in May. The pre-app forms will come out in April, and there's going to be some roads to look at for winter damage here. So
Yeah.
I'm going to say that's in the lead.
Until the remainder of this weather breaks, I
Yeah.
don't think we can really make an assessment.
Oh, I don't either. I don't think it would be very wise.
6
to do
degrees
that.
outside right now, the roads are doing strange things as we speak.
Yes, they are. So anyway, that's some good news, and I just want to pass that along. There's a score, I don't know if she copied all of these, but there's the score sheets, that's what they look like from that OPWC meeting last Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we hooked up the sled dogs and went to Chardon. Dan and Lorraine and I did, to meet with automated data processing up there, Frank Antonucci and I got a couple of names, I don't have all. We met with his staff concerning cemetery program. And Lorraine, thank you for setting up that meeting for us. We could have picked the
The better day.
better day, but we made it. I'm gonna let you guys comment on it too, because I was impressed. I was very impressed. And Lorraine, you've got more cemetery hands-on knowledge than I do, so I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. I was really impressed with it. I worked with UAN cemetery module, and it was good. The accounting administrative side was good, but what I liked about this was that it's based with the GIS, so, and they would actually do all the work. They would input all of our information, which is huge. And so it would be on our desktops, but residents would be able to download an app. And in that app, you could see different cemeteries. You could click on a spot. So if you were shopping for a grave, for instance, you could look at it and see, they have them color-coded, what was available, because one might look empty, but, it might already be sold. So you would be able to see, you would be able to see names. I think of just of the people that are buried, but it's a user-friendly app. If you were doing some research and you wanted to find somebody, you wouldn't have, instead of walking everywhere or trying to look at an old map, this would show you, and it would give you directions, like it's, based with GPS. It was wonderful. And they're local, any questions we have, they can modify things to what we want, like if we wanted to add names or add some extra fields, it's in there. But I love the part where residents could easily access it. It used to be if somebody was interested in purchasing a grave, you'd have to walk the cemetery with them with your little map to see, oh, no, that's not available. Oh, you need paper, but everything would be on your phone.
And he also said, I think, if you were the owner of a grave site, you could select on it and you could add information about that person, maybe even a picture or whatever. And obviously, it has to be approved by the ADP
Right.
group or
By us,
by us.
Right.
You don't want anything
Right.
out of sorts.
Right.
But the best thing for me was when he said it's free.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was free.
Yeah, it's free.
Yeah.
Now, is there any, do they have any issues with integrating, because all the information we have now is kind of a hodgepodge of
Well,
different
yeah,
things.
one of the developers was actually looking into Crypt Keeper to see how they could integrate the information that was in there to this system. So he was actively.
Now, worst case, even if they couldn't do that, they could still
Right,
manually enter that information off the Crypt Keeper.
right.
I'm thinking
right.
that was Louis Marion. Does that sound right?
Yeah, his name was Lou,
Okay,
yeah,
I found them.
yeah,
And there's a Sarah, I think,
Sarah Perry
yeah,
yeah.
and Sai Madi. And it sounds like she was the one that actually did the data work for Hamden.
yes.
This was an impressive group, it really was.
Yeah.
Answered every question you asked like that.
Right,
And it was, okay, the program was not developed in-house, though. It was a ESRI.com. Is that what I kept seeing up in the upper left-hand
That
corner?
might have been
That'd be
yeah.
correct.
Is that right?
Is that right?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so if anybody in the audience wants to Google that up, you can. But they're gonna come, this alert, some portion of that crew that we talked to the other day will be here on February 2nd.
At the trustees meeting.
Yeah.
So come. I mean, how excited can it be? Yeah, look at a cemetery program, but we were really impressed.
Yeah, and they
I
had,
think you sold everybody on that one. They're like, "Yeah."
and they had done, Hamden Township is the ones that kind of, they were very, very aggressive at really pursuing this. And so they did one cemetery in Hamden, which isn't nearly as symmetrical as Shadyside, but it's got the same little 6-foot pathways and different sections. It lays out very similar to our remaining cemetery up here at Shadyside, the one we're using primarily, almost always. So this is not, we're not reinventing the wheel here. They've already done it once.
Right, right,
Well, the input I've got back so far is, one, the free part, that sold me.
right.
PJ said that he actually thought that he could operate this program.
Right.
To me, that was saying
That's a
something.
reach, I know, that is a reach, yeah.
Yeah, and to give our county auditor, Chuck Walder, some credit, apparently there was initially going to be a charge, but he told his staff that if you're a member of Geauga County ADP, we're going to give it to you for free, so.
And I know some other local municipalities who purchased, some high-tech software, and I think what ADP showed us is much better. And I also like that, if we wanted to add something, another field or whatever, they were very willing and able and easily able to do it.
And we have a module in our UAN software, which we've never used in the past, but Lorraine is familiar with it at Newberry, and this totally overshadows what the UAN module
And we
does.
were considering that, and that's why Lorraine kind of took the point on this to get this meeting set up, so we could compare that to what the
And
county
anything that
did.
has to do with UAN seems to be very good, very complete, and really hard to work with, so, at least from what I've heard from you guys.
Yeah, and it's great. TJ said they're local, they're right here, in Chardon. Yeah, I was happy with it.
How long, if we decide to go with it, how long would it take to implement and get everything up and online?
Yeah, we didn't talk about that, but we would be next. We would
Yeah,
be their next
we would.
project, so
We would.
I can't see it taking that long.
It's not usually the length of time, it's a matter of getting in the queue to have them do it, so. what's the
Right,
Next line.
right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just gotta say again, a neat thing, I don't know if anybody has seen, but they make headstones now where you can put little QR codes on them. I don't know, has anybody seen that? So, like if I bought a headstone for somebody in my family, I could put a QR code on it, and anybody can go up to it and, read about this person, and what they did. So what Dan mentioned is kind of similar. You can do that on your app for a plot like that you would buy, if you wanted to do that. Like if my Uncle Joe was there and I wanted to share some information about his life, and you wanted that shared with people, you could do it. But that would have to be approved by the township. You don't know what people could put on, but yeah, we were impressed with it.
Yeah, that's all I have. As I said, they'll be here February 2nd.
Did we get the data back?
Click on it, get a Walmart Plus ad.
That's why I had to look this up now. This Louis Marion is going to contact him. That's why I gotta put those two in connections right now, because they weren't clear. Our current cemetery sexton is using a program that he found easier than, what was Susan using? Excel, was it Word, or was it?
Excel, he told me.
Yeah, okay. And obviously, there's a lot on paper. There's tons of this on paper. Everything's duplicated on paper. And some Mylar maps. This is exactly what they did in Hampton, though. This is exactly what this group's described. It's the same process that they're gonna do for us here. But he's not sure about this Crypt Keeper thing, if all that data can just like transform or move right over into.
Right.
So that's what that Louis Marion was gonna figure out. So we're underway. We're kinda underway, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, just as a little side note, a couple of years ago, I did some research into how different townships in Geauga County keep their cemeteries. There was only one township that used UAN, it was Chester and then Newberry, so there were two of them. Everybody else, some people were a little embarrassed about it, but they said, we have it on a piece of paper, or, we have it on a little spreadsheet. There was nobody, this was a couple years ago, that had, anything like what ADP has. South Russell bought some expensive
I've seen those
software.
Mylars we have floating around here, so we're, 10 years ago, we weren't much beyond that.
Yeah.
All right, so for the record, we have
you've seen the data. This came up at the last meeting, you saw it.
Yeah.
But it's not over at the building here, so he brought it to you? Mr. Ludwig?
It's on his laptop. We
He
hired
brought it
him as
in?
Sexton. No, he still has it.
He still has it at home?
Yes.
And we
yes.
don't have the username or password?
We're trying to figure out how to move that over to the
I
program we're looking at.
I emailed everybody on the 5th of January, very clearly, because I had a 20-minute phone call with Mr. Ludwig, who we reappointed by monthly, and it's the 19th now. I asked him that day, as soon as we got off the phone, I summarized everything we talked about, and I asked him, because I was told over at our roads building, there's nothing in his office. There's no mapping, there's no Excel files, his personal laptop's obviously not there because he's been gone since July. So I asked him, please set something up, come in, give us the username and password. I have no reply from anybody, and everybody was in the email. So if you spoke with him, I don't know if you got the email or not, he did. I'm still really confused why we actually don't have any of our data. And I'm not getting clear answers, or any answers for that matter. I just want to make sure, because we're going to month here, so he's going to get reappointed, well, at our next meeting for another month. We still don't have any of the data that he's had for the last decade. It's still at home. So all this sounds really great, but when are we going to verify that we have the stuff and do something about it? I need some help.
We have a deed book, which is everything, that's your automatic redundancy. The deed book for the cemetery with every grave's number and location. And beyond that, he's our cemetery sexton, he's still employed here.
But he doesn't call residents back, because that was a problem.
Well,
And we're still reappointing him.
As I said, we're going to look at that situation, and he knows that.
Where is the deed book?
I think Nancy has the deed book. We've always, generally, they come through here once a month.
Also, on our website, I'd like to suggest that we at least put like the admin email under Sexton, because if we know he's not answering his phone, if people could put it on paper and email us in that they're looking for whatever it is they're looking for, to create some accountability for all of us to react to that and get back to them. Somebody should get back to these people, but going to a phone to nowhere, if you guys want to be in general agreement to put our admin email on our website, it's a 5-second fix.
I'd have no problem with that.
Okay.
I mean, because that would give us a direct thing, and then admin can contact them.
At the very least, to, catch the stuff coming through in the meantime.
The reason I asked where the book was is after, once all this started coming to light, I started looking up on the Ohio Revised Code. Nowhere could I find the word sexton, which was interesting, but many townships use that word. It's come to develop over the years. But I did find ORC 517.06, cemetery plat. The Board of Trustees shall have the cemetery laid out in lots, avenues, and paths, shall number the lots, and shall have a suitable plat of the lots made, which plat shall be carefully kept by the township fiscal officer, which was news to me. So that's why I asked. I've never heard that before, and
Okay, so question is, once we get this program, who will be the one to operate?
it's a good question.
Next, Sexton.
Well, there's another ORC that says
Saying-
appointment of directors of township cemetery, 5.7.20. The Board of Township Trustees may appoint 3 directors to take charge of any cemetery in the township, the control of which is vested in such board. So I guess you guys decide.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we decide on maybe sexton or whatever the buzzword of that person is. Now, it seemed to me that, okay, there's not a lot involved in the sexton job, in the overall scheme of things, once all the data's entered. how many plots, how many things do we actually go through in the course of a year?
Yeah, I'm not sure of the volume. What's real important, and I don't know, Newberry didn't have very accurate records. They just didn't. And as I went along, I would fix things. Different people do the job over different years. Some did a good job, some did a horrible job. So if the records are accurate, like who's there now, that's 98% of the work. And then after you just keep up with the current, make sure they're accurate, and add new records into the system. But,
Well, I think, like I said, once we get to that point, if we can establish, okay, how much time is actually involved in it? Is it something that we need, an external cemetery sexton thing, or could it just be a sub of somebody in the office who takes on that responsibility?
that's what I think.
Depends how much time is involved in it.
Yeah. What I found that works is if you have an administrative person deal with the paperwork, working in conjunction with the road department. You have two heads together making sure that the plot that you're selling is actually the right plot and there's nobody else there, because these guys that work in the road department, they know and they remember. They can remember, oh yeah, we had a problem 10 years ago with that, and this is what happened, and blah, blah, blah. So I think two people identifying grave sites and, making sure the number's right, coordinating the, the burial date, the time, etc. I think that works well. But I don't know how.
Well, we can address
Well,
that.
here's the size of the job here, Mike, you were asking. This is a year-end 2025 report that I think it's kicking around here somewhere.
Yeah, I requested that.
Yeah, 15 burials in calendar year, 13 headstones, foundations. Of course, the dirt's got to settle before we do the foundations, so those numbers they vary.
Yeah.
And 9 transactions for cemetery deeds sold for 15 total plots. So it's not a
Not a full-time job for
not a
somebody?
full-time job, no,
Or we should have our own department for it, maybe?
probably not.
A building?
So we're in general agreement that we could add an email and our phone number to our website, so the calls stop going to nowhere? Should we do that, or just email?
Well, in the short term, I think we're ultimately going to have to transfer this over anyway. We know Mike's only doing this part-time. So since we're going to have to get that transferred anyway, we might as well do it now. I don't have any problem with that.
Mr. Kavanaugh?
Fine by me? Yep.
Phone and email, okay.
Okay, PJ, anything else?
No, that's all I had. That's all
PJ,
right.
I got a thing in front of me about some Ohio Department of Transportation.
Oh,
Is that something you wanted to bring
that
up?
is on the agenda though, isn't it? I think it
don't
is.
know. Oh, the mileage certification.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You want to do it now, or you want to wait?
Well, now that we're talking about it, we might as well. Of course, I shuffled it through here already.
I have the original.
It's, our total mileage is, what is it, Dan? 53 point?
Yeah.
53.884 miles of public road.
And this is just a piece of housekeeping that we do every year. Total certified mileage at the end of calendar year 2024 for Auburn Township in Geauga County was 53.884 miles. Certified by the Board of Trustees or reported to the Director of Transportation in accordance with provisions specified with the ORC 4501.04.
Okay. Don't really need a motion on that, we just need to sign this document.
Yeah, I do. All 3 of us, yeah.
Yep.
That must be why I get every month from the county $856.64 for HB. It says 64.
There is some breakdown.
Lane miles, I mean.
And here's the interesting part. We actually went down by, I think, about 3 or 4 tenths of a mile a few years ago because they were counting Washington Street, what was under Ladue Reservoir for decades before they corrected that.
Sign that,
So,
pass it down. Okay. All right. Riley, report.
Okay. The first thing I'd like to go over, the town hall repairs. So today, I found it in my inbox around 3 o'clock that I would be in charge of trying to work through that. So I haven't had a lot of time to actually work on it, but I do have a contract that I got quickly this evening from Caves. Nothing changed on it. So I gave a copy to both of these gentlemen. The one major thing that Mr. Bob mentioned to me was he doesn't believe the aluminum railings, the ADA railings, will be a good test of time. He said he's willing to do them, but wanted to quote it and be specific that the cast iron will match with the cemetery design, the 100-year-old building, etc., and then he knows they'll stand for time as the ramp would. So with that being said, he reorganized the contract quote. He also ran over, and again, this was starting this afternoon, so a lot happened quickly, so we may have to table this so we can all get up to speed. But here's a very rough design. I'll show you in a second there. We haven't really had a design yet, so it gets us somewhere. We're not paying for it. It's included, and the estimated cost of permits is around $100, which is also included. So this is what I got quickly. He had already done this apparently like a week or two ago, but he just didn't know what exactly we were doing because it kept showing up on the agenda. And
Can you do one thing if you're going to be communicating with them?
I'll leave it as.
Yeah, just leave that down. No, just I want to look at that with you.
I think there's a small drawing here. Is this what I'm looking
No,
at?
that's a door. Just to give you an idea.
North is
Correct.
here. Okay, I get it.
All right. Because he's only given us the one elevation here.
This is 25 feet.
But what I want to confirm, because there was one thing that was missed on the other one, is that this platform here,
This
well, this whole
landing.
landing, has to be lifted,
Yes, it does.
okay? There's a step up into the building. So that's why since there's only one view here,
Yeah, this has an angle.
right, but that's going to be the stairs here, and that, and the lifting of the things. I just want to make sure he knows that, because that was what was missed in the last one. And they did the first landing, or the first ramp, where they had to come back and had to redo it because they had a wrong angle on the ramp because of the...
Yeah, I mean, from the start, I trust that he's got 2 pages also of the scope of work that he gave to us in August that was really detailed. I actually forgot them at home, but I do have those as well. I had them at the last meeting. But with that being said,
Well, if it's in the scope of work, then that should have the lifting of the platform, bringing up the grade with the front door should be in there.
yeah, it's
I
right
just want to
over
confirm
front.
that before we get too far afield and have people coming back and, oh yeah, we gotta change this again.
Yeah, there's kind of a, and you can walk over there and look at it. There's a significant threshold from the existing steps, what, maybe 6-8 inches?
Yeah, it's a step up.
And that was to be eliminated.
Right.
reduced.
But yeah, to get a wheelchair into the building, there's not gonna be, it'd be obvious that the ramp's going to come up flush to the threshold so you can wheel yourself in and not bounce over, you know, a ledge.
Yeah, it'd be obvious to me.
Right. So, but yes, I can confirm
Yeah, just, you know,
that
not asking you to do anything weird, just
the landing,
to make sure that they know this, because like I said, the other guy missed it before, and, you know, if you're taking a quick look at it, like I said, the step's only 8 high, and so,
yeah, the quote's really nice though. He put in completion no later than May 31st. He's got, again, I don't have it in front of me, but from memory, he's digging out a footer bed, he's putting rebar in.
It's in that I just gave you.
Oh, yeah, this is what I forgot. Oh, okay. I could read it to everybody, but it's kind of lengthy, but it's very detailed. Maybe we could,
Does he have in there what Mike was asking about?
oh yeah, let's look.
I don't see it, but to be determined.
There is currently 24 inches of rise from the asphalt parking lot surface to the bottom of the door threshold. So that would answer your question. We had this in August. Yes, so that answers exactly what you're looking for.
okay, just wanted to confirm.
Yeah, it's
So
been
you're saying
very
the only
detailed.
delta in the price then is going to be whether we go with aluminum rails or the iron?
Yeah, he strongly suggested, yes, we will save $4,500 or so with the aluminum, but the aesthetics of it, the lasting a lifetime or lasting for a long time like wrought iron, he strongly advises against it, but he would. So when he gave this new contract here, he just put it as the cast iron, because the cast iron railing is a better product for this project. But everything is ADA.
Again, just my opinion, I'd rather spend the extra money and do it right the first time.
Yeah, he's got a good layout of what's going on here. So we can table it if these gentlemen want, or we can,
I'd table it till next meeting, just so, and basically, we'll let you spearhead the project, so to make sure you have time to go through all this stuff, and then you feel comfortable with it. So, like I said, when you get something and you have it, and you try to make a decision in 3 hours, nothing good can come from it.
I wanted to be ready.
Yeah, quite honestly, as I think we talked about at the last meeting, I don't see anybody breaking any ground in the next 2 weeks anyway, so.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna be an issue. All right.
So motion to table the review of the
Well, how about we
town
just
hall.
put it on the agenda for business, one of the.
Yeah,
that's
it was already-
kinda how we-
It's already on, it's already under old business, so.
So we'll carry it to the next
So
one.
we're gonna stay tuned.
So something else I wanted to bring up. On Thursday, our administrator put a note on the door that we were going to unexpectedly be closed on Friday. There is a lot of vacation time coming up, so I thought this would be a good segue to talk about as we move forward. If the building is not open as it's supposed to be, is there anything we can do better for the residents that's very simple? So I wanted to suggest, should we forward the phones to one of our phones, or should we just put on the voicemail, we're closed today? This is on the off chance that Ms. Hardy here and Ms. Dozell are both absent. This did happen on Friday. I didn't find out other than seeing what was hung on the door, so all the calls and emails, to my knowledge, went nowhere. So if we want to be in general agreement that maybe when that happens, we could put an auto reply in the email, hey, we're unexpectedly closed, don't drive down here, the door is locked, something to help the residents from calling all day long and expecting us to be open. We can easily put it on the website, we can easily put it on Facebook, which does get a lot of traction with the residents. So they would see, hey, they're closed today, I'm not gonna keep calling over and over again to nowhere. ORC 505.031, it shows that whoever at the time, the chairman, shall act as the administrator or have replacement voted on by the board for things like this. So I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but as of now, you being the chairman, you're kind of in charge of how we handle this over the next few months. As it may happen
Like I said,
again.
this is kind of a rare occasion. This was Nancy planned her vacation middle of the summer based on her daughter having a baby. Jane on Friday had a medical appointment, which she'd had for a year. So, when you have I don't know how much you deal with doctors, but if you gotta wait a year to get an appointment, you don't miss it.
I agree.
So, I'm going to authorize, I told them, go ahead and put a no fishing sign on the door, and
That's
we'll
it.
deal with it. But any suggestions you have, willing to look at them for, I have no problem with putting it on the website, I have no problem. But like I said, this was a rare occasion, it doesn't happen very often. So, yeah, so I'll just make sure that, come up with a process of saying, okay, yeah, post on the website, post on Facebook, and
Email auto reply,
email, auto reply,
phone message machine, maybe.
so.
I know it may never happen, but there's a lot of vacation coming up, so we can't say it'll never happen.
I have no problem with things like this. You know, anything we come up with that's gonna help give some notification, more than willing to look at that. Easy enough to implement. Anything else?
Adam Hall, Ms. Dozell went there to show some prospective renters, and there's some newer, she took some pictures, I don't have them with me, but she emailed me that there's quite a few active leaks and drywall tape tearing from the interior of the building due to the roof problem. So at the very least, I asked her if she can go back and pull all the data we have, because have we paid for 4 roofs in 20 years?
I think the one that was proposed last year would have been the 4th roof. Yeah. Now, I'm gonna say when Al Patagimas gave us that building and we started initiating some, I don't know, cleanup, there were significant, that roof was done when we got it. It was bad. So, if you want to count that one, that was just a re-shingle so we can do some work in there without having 2 inches of water on the floor at all times. But it has been re-roofed twice, and there's been, I'm sure she's going to find you a file there. We had that thermal imaging done up there. If you go up in that attic, and I did that quite a little bit. You're going to find my old thermometers hanging around up there, where we were trying to monitor temperature loss, what the attic temperature actually was versus the outside air and how that was fitting, and
We should have had a much higher pitch on that roof from the initial.
there's not room for all the HVAC
Packed up.
and insulation, and that's what's missing. If you can go look at it, well, Mark Sturm and I were up there, maybe it was Saturday, about 4 or 5 feet, at least that, maybe somewhere between 4 and 8 feet of the peak, there's no snow. And of course, you get down near the gutters, there's about 1.5 feet, well, there's 12 to 16 inches of ice. So what's going on is it's melting at the peak, heat rises, and it doesn't make it to the gutters, it freezes on the
Nothing
way
in there is
down.
going to be an easy fix.
It's
We've
not
tried
gonna be
heat
an
tape,
easy
we've
fix. Yeah, it's not gonna be an easy
tried,
fix.
putting on the additional ice guard, and,
You're still gonna have the heat loss.
yeah, we still have to get, there has to be, and it's not going to be cheap. I'm afraid that you're going to have to do this right, you're going to have to lift the roof, change the pitch. You're talking a major project. So,
I'm just suggesting we start I know we talked about it in June, and had quotes, and now it is January, and it's not anywhere to be found. So that was 7 months that went by, and we didn't work on it. I don't want 7 months to go by again, and then we're sitting here next January.
Well, that's why you're the property liaison now. And yeah, I'd encourage you to review what was done there over the years, sure. There's a pretty good paper trail. I think you'll probably come to the same conclusion that I did as property liaison, that you keep doing, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So to re-roof would have been, just put us on a schedule to re-roof again in another 6 to 8 years. So
Now
it needs fixed. It
Yeah.
needs as, you know, Mike just said, it needs some re-engineering.
And we're gonna have like, mold issues, things like that on the interior, because it's like actively wet on the tape joints inside at this point.
I would be surprised.
So
I don't
it's-
know if we're gonna have mold issues, but potentially. You know.
You know, again, this thing's been addressed, I'm not, and like I said, is this something you're gonna go out there with your pen and paper and say, I'm gonna fix this thing? No. You're gonna have to get a professional up there, and then I'm guessing we're gonna have to get some, we've had that, we had roofers come in, we've had engineers come in. Everybody comes up with a different suggestion, we try to implement it.
They're kind of
Makes sense,
They're
we put it
kind of
in.
funneling into one now, which is the lack of insulation. You know, that's kind of where the focus has gone. And, you know, as you talk about budgeting around here, I'm going to say by midpoint, well, about the time we were getting those roof estimates, I was talking to the fiscal officer down there, and I said, I have a real goal to fix this once and for all, you know, but it's going to take more than a simple re-roof. So Dan and I talked about this probably from the middle of last year on. So it's there. It's
Well, like I said, get whatever records you can on the whole history of repairs that we've made to it over time and see what worked, what didn't. And,
Make it a priority?
I kind of think it is, yes,
Yeah.
I do. I
pretty
really
much
do.
anything around here that's leaking is a priority. I don't care if it's a roof or a toilet.
Did we confirm those outlets, the GFCIs got replaced or not?
They are working, yes. Yes, he has not split off the
On the
circuit
leaks,
yet, but the
He's replaced
GFIs are done, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this. Okay, so that's that. Okay. Mr. Phillips.
Yes, sir.
Hi. I emailed you on January 13th, trying to get some information about records retention policies over there and fire prevention inspections that have been done from a fire prevention standpoint, and then what kind of plans we have for 2026 for that
We're getting
position.
that pulled for you.
Sorry?
We're getting that pulled for you.
Okay. Yeah, because I didn't get any reply or anything, so I wasn't sure if you...
I got some of it pulled, and then I wasn't sure, it seemed like from your email you wanted it all in one shot. So I could send you some of it now, and until I get the rest of it put together, or,
Complete package, or you want a piecemeal?
yeah.
There's only, it was prior inspection data, what we're planning on doing moving forward, and records retention, so mainly three chunks. However you want to, however you got it, I'll
Okay.
take it. Any
I'll
which
send-
way.
I'll send some of it to you tomorrow.
Perfect, thank you. And then I wanted to clear up something. Mr. Kavanaugh, I did not know, what happened was I sent something just to us through email and a couple other people, and Mrs. Dozel mentioned it when I was on the phone with her about something else, and I said, how do you have this email? And she kind of got flustered and said, well, it's PJ's.
Mhm.
So I asked her, I said, are you monitoring PJ's email? And she said, yes.
My
So-
email's here.
And so where I'm going with this is, we don't disclose that, so, and I've never gotten, since I started January 1st, I haven't got a single reply from either of you gentlemen on all the different emails that are out there with things like this. So I just want to make note, moving forward, if someone does needs or requires a reply from your email, is she going to reply on your behalf, or are you going to type it and send it?
She'll generally let me know. The reason my email's here is because up until just a couple months ago, I had no internet at home. So, kind of pointless to get your email at
So
home.
you just asked her to,
That's why
whatever
we set it
emails
up
you
here.
receive, make copies of them, put them in his
But
phone.
most of what I'm getting is like through this, is OPWC stuff or engineer's office stuff, and that's been almost exclusively what I've been getting, actually.
Now, I've had some issues with my email because ever since we went with this, the ADP, y'all have your nice township emails. Well, I decline having a township email. I don't need 20 emails. I got one, I've had the same one for 30 years. So that's the one I use here. If anybody's got to get a hold of me, mstesq@aol.com. That's my email. Feel free. It's also on my business card. So I've not been copied on some various emails because the entire planet seems to have unilaterally decided that I do have a township email and can send all that stuff here. So I sent a note up to the prosecutor's office, to Chrissy, just to say, hey, by the way, I do not have a separate township email. This is my email address for future reference. So anything that I haven't gotten, other than that, and this is just recently, toward the last 3 or 4 weeks, that everybody seems to have making this transition, making the assumption that I took the having a separate email for the township versus my personal email, which I did not.
Did they give you one? Do you have an email through the county?
No, I told them, no, I do not want it, go away, I'm not paying $500, I already have an email. Well, not that I would pay it, the township would pay it, it seems crazy.
The emails are free. It's only the office suite that costs $390 or $410, but the emails are free. I just talked to Jonathan when he set mine up last week.
Yeah.
But regardless, okay, so we don't have an email for you. I still included you in all the emails. Point being, I don't have any replies, period, going on 3 weeks for stuff. But moving, more importantly with yours, do you want to disclose to residents in that as like an auto reply with your cell phone or anything? Because, are you replying to any emails? I haven't gotten anything, so that's what I'm trying to clarify here. When else do we speak?
Did I have any emails that were sent to me that were directly requesting my input? Is there any questions for me? Is there anything addressed specifically for me? And, a lot of emails I get, I strictly take as information. Somebody tells me something, I don't necessarily comment back. It's just, okay, you've given me this information, I've got it.
All right, so I was asking,
Yeah, she'll usually print mine out, and I know maybe that's, caveman technology, but it works for me, because I try to stop in here 2-3 times a week anyway. And it'll be in the mailbox, which is exactly where that file was for the town hall repair, and that's been there in your mailbox for a week and a half. So that's kind of how the office has worked historically. Now, am I gonna, you know what, if Spectrum will actually cut me a deal when they actually hook me up, whenever that happens, there's a chance I'll move my emails over to my house again.
so we're not replying currently.
Oh, yeah, she prints them out, I pick them up here, I make the phone calls back, or?
Yeah, see, here's what happened.
Okay.
If you notice this email that Pam, was your question into Christie,
Yes.
that she responded to. M. Troyan at Auburn Township, I don't have it. So I called her up, or let's send her email saying, hey, this is,
Who signed off on your email? The form has to go, a trustee or an elected official has to sign off for you to get an email. Who signed it?
nobody, I don't have it.
They can't just create it.
Yeah, somebody did, I don't have an email. If you ask Christie, this was bounced back to her. because I said right up front, I do not want an email, which is why I never received it. As you see here, you got, I don't know, anyway,
So that's where we're at.
so that's where we're at. And while we're on the topic, since I did finally get this email,
Perfect.
Okay, well, ignore the body of it. Key thing is, she answered your email. I hope this information resolves and clarifies the issues surrounding the appointment of the fire prevention officer of the township. Trustee Davis has asked me a number of other questions, however, I would ask that those questions be discussed as a board at an open meeting of the board, and that the board come to a consensus on legal questions being submitted to me for review. Please keep in mind that I can only provide advice on legal questions for matters concerning the board. Questions about whether good policy decisions are being made or not appropriate matters to me for review. Basically, so anything that's going up from Christie now on has to come through the board. We can discuss it here, and then those questions will be forwarded to her.
She also said all that's private info that you just read, right at the top of the email. But that's fine.
No?
Yeah.
Since you-
Client privilege.
Right.
She said, don't go to the public.
Well-
But you did. So now that we did, she did, because I talked to her about it. We can confirm that tomorrow. I'll email her again. But she said that's not to be discussed. But that's good. So what he's saying is we have verified that we're operating under section 505.38B in each township not having a fire department because it's contracted. They shall appoint a fire prevention officer. That's what we corrected earlier because somehow we were voting to have a fire chief, which we're not allowed to have. Furthermore, if you look, again, we're not allowed to have a fire chief. We're allowed to have a fire prevention officer. Currently, it's my understanding that you represent yourself as a fire chief, but the state does not allow it. So she confirmed that. That's why I was talking to her. Go ahead. So,
Yes, in each township having a fire department, the Board of Township Trustees shall appoint a fire prevention officer who shall exercise all the duties of the fire chief except those involving the maintenance and operation of the fire apparatus.
yes, sir. Exercise the duties is not a fire chief because Section A, which we are not applicable for, clearly calls out that if you have a fire department, then you shall appoint a
We don't.
fire chief. Right. So under B, they allow us to have a fire prevention officer, not a chief.
Right.
Right. And I believe we're representing that position as fire chief incorrectly. So I have the contract here and I have the bylaws. In the bylaws, they amended the fire chief position to officer in 2022. Shall function as a fire chief. They have a state ID number. They still have to follow ORC in regards to that position. The ORC does not talk about assistant chiefs, lieutenants, captains, nothing like that. But they have very clear guidance on fire chiefs, because to be a fire chief, there's training and there's a physical that has to be on file to be an actual fire chief. It's clearly defined, this ORC has not changed. So, since we got into this with the email you read, I do not think it's correct that you're representing yourself as a fire chief. Per the contract, per the bylaws, per what we just received there for clarification purposes. Even in the contract that, I wasn't here in December when the contract and bylaws were approved, because I didn't start till January. The contract itself calls out 505.38B, which we just read. The Board of Trustees shall appoint a fire prevention officer who shall exercise the duties of a fire chief, except those involving maintenance and operation of a apparatus. Said fire prevention officer will investigate fires within Auburn Township and submit the required forms to the marshal. That's why I emailed you last week asking, what are we doing with preventions, inspections for the past and moving forward.
Okay,
That's where this is coming from.
okay.
We don't have a job description on file for fire prevention officer. We have clear guidance here that the way it reads, we can't have a fire chief. That's the whole point of why we're operating under B, fire prevention officer. Now, that's not something I can fix, but I've done the research to understand where we're at. As Mr. Troy noted, we have an email clearing a lot of that up. We've got bylaws, we've got contracts, we've got a lot of conflicting information, including fixing our own. That's what we did at the beginning of the meeting tonight. We fixed what we voted on. It's so confusing. We voted for a fire chief that we're not allowed to do, period. We can only have a fire prevention officer. So like on your business card or whatever, if you want to keep representing yourself as fire chief, I disagree with that, but I guess I can't do anything about it, so I'm just letting everybody know what we've got right here in front of us. Further, on compensation, it gets really confusing. Compensation for fire prevention officer, to compensate chief/fire EMS administrator. So now we have 3 different titles floating around in one vote. So I voted no on both those things confidently. I'd already been working on this for over a month. I think we've got some things that should be examined a little closer, because the state doesn't joke around about what it takes to be a fire chief. They spell it out pretty clearly. And
Well, good thing we don't have a fire chief now, we have a fire prevention officer.
do you want to change your business card?
Yeah, just get a Sharpie out and
Okay, I'm not making light of this because it's public safety. We have 6,600 residents. Not to mention, for tax dollar standpoint, it is the most expensive position in the township. It's one of 2 that are salaried. Why ever it got to salary, I have no idea. I get that you could be on call 24 hours and all that fun stuff, but all the other chiefs work a shift and they still answer their phone locally. I mean, talk about Burton, you bring up Burton. Furthermore,
Where do you get, I don't answer the phone?
no, I said if that's how you justify being on salary.
You just say, statement that I don't answer the phone.
well, you,
No, I said if that's how you justify being on salary, that you do answer your phone
Okay.
24/7.
All right.
That's fine.
First off, he doesn't establish whether he's salary, hourly, part-time, or anything else. The trustees establish that, and that's what it was set up as.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah, we could put him hourly, we could have put him at part-time, there's a number of things we did. We put him on salary.
Yeah, so there is a job posting in Brunswick for a fire inspector position, part-time. It pays $25,000 a year, and it requires higher qualifications. So we've never benchmarked any of this. I mean, it's been 15, 20 years. Well, you have to look around at what's going on around you to understand if we're doing stuff right.
Well, maybe
All this
they look at
feels-
us, and maybe they're not doing it right. Just because they do it a different way doesn't mean it's right. Okay, you've made it clear, you don't want Chief Phillips here, you don't want to pay him.
I don't have to use his name at all. Moving forward, if we don't have evaluations, job descriptions, we're not aiming higher for qualifications, what are we doing for the residents? It's been status quo, the most expensive position, sure, but also with the least amount of qualifications in the entire fire department. Out of everyone on the roster, the highest position has the lowest training by a lot. That, I can't justify that. It doesn't make sense to the residents that we would, year after year, want to keep doing that with no goals, no aspirations for that amount of money to split it up, serve multiple positions we're short on. The management side of this, and I really am not picking on, I don't have to use your name at all. The position in general, the way it stands, we just have a lot of things that are wrong with it, that we just went over, so.
Well, I think you made it clear where you stand, and that's where the reports are used. Do you have anything else you would like to comment on?
No, sir.
Okay. Dan Masco, report.
Okay, as fiscal officer, I processed 13 electronic payments since our last meeting, January 6th, totaling $42,800.23. And in addition, 12 warrants for $33,886.76, for a total of $76,686.99. Last Tuesday, I attended a fiscal officers meeting at the county hosted by County Auditor Chuck Walder. And the topic was the components and variables of property tax. And the goal was to educate the fiscal officers, and by the way, there are, I think, 6 fiscal officers representing 6 townships, and the remainder, another 6 or 7 people, were from the county auditor staff. And it consisted of definitions of what appraised values are, assessed values, what's inside millage, outside millage, and the school 20 mil floor levy, HB 920. So there was a whole packet of information which I emailed to all the trustees. I scanned it and emailed it, and so I don't know if you've got any copy or comments on what I emailed. But again, it's like drinking from a fire hose. There's so much here. And I also got a letter from a resident on his thoughts on property taxes. And all this is predicated, is coming to light because there's an initiative to abolish property tax in Ohio. And I think it's called Axe to Tax. There's a website out there that you can sign petition. Anyways, there's a good possibility it could get on the ballot in November. It failed to get enough signatures this past November. And so Mr. Walder wanted us to be educated and to have the trustees in each township educated as to what the ramifications can be. And some of the information here is what the impact would be on the county if all of a sudden their revenues dry up from property tax. We all know what would happen here. We wouldn't get any more money for roads, we wouldn't get any more money for the fire department. It would literally dry up all the funds. So we talked about what the options would be. And again, I had a resident send me a letter, it's almost 2 pages, and he spelled out quite clearly, why he thought, why he thought property taxes are a bad idea and what possible alternatives there would be. So I shared that letter with the group. I made like 10 copies and gave them each. And so that was that. I don't know if you guys had a chance to read that I sent. Maybe you didn't get it, but I did send it to your private email, your personal email.
Then I got it.
Okay. So if you get a chance, look through it. It's pretty interesting. And one thing this resident did say in the body of his letter is the property tax system is very complicated. I underline complicated because even as a fiscal officer, it's complicated.
Yeah, it's not really complicated, it's magic.
So, that's that.
Yeah, Dan, I did read that. I don't want to, cut into your time here, but your commenter there, whoever it was, seems to lean heavily into sales taxes or income taxes.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, here's...
as an alternative.
Yeah, here's cold hard fact, is we had a state representative, maybe he was a senator, I don't know, it's been a while, but Chip Henry, you know Chip, of course you did. That was his bill when he was in the legislature for the short period that he was. to put, so local school districts could put an income tax on. And since they can't do that without that legislation. So I think every school system in the state of Ohio ran it at least once, ran some type of income tax, at least once. I think Kenston might have tried twice. And you know how many passed in the entire state? 8. In the entire state. Every school system ran it and 8 passed. One of them happened to be Burton. But that's going to be just as popular as property taxes. What do you replace it with, you know?
Yeah, like I
I know
said,
Chuck Walder said it would take a 23% county sales tax to generate the
That'll be
same amount.
popular too.
Same amount of
Go buy a
revenue.
car with that,
Yeah, so, but, I mean, we could be faced with this come
Oh, I know.
next year, and
It's and they're doing it as a constitutional amendment is what they're
Yeah.
doing, so.
Do they have any suggestions on what they think should,
not at this point. They just want to educate everybody as to what the ramifications would be, what services would be lost. I do believe, and there is a forum the League of Women Voters is having, I think it's February 24th or 5th at Bainbridge Library. Yeah, and I've been asked to be on the panel, so I'll be there. All right, if there's nothing else on that, I wanted to bring up Brian Seaborg. I know when he was hired in November, he was hired as part-time as needed. And I did some inquiry, and I guess on January 3rd, I know in the organizational meeting, I think we bumped the salary up $1.
Yeah.
But I wanted to just emphasize, and maybe the board could clarify that when I spoke with our insurance representatives, in order to be classified as full-time to get benefits, you only need a minimum of 30 hours a week. And I was told by Mike Fenstermaker that as of January 3rd, he is now part-time, minimum 30 hours a week. And he can't go full-time for another 60 days because of whatever he's got with his FBOPA, whatever. So I just wanted to say that, if the board wants to, definitively say he's part-time, making a minimum of 30 hours, so he'll be classified as full-time. Because I got this email from our insurance rep. The 90 days starts when the employee becomes full-time eligible. To be a full-time employee must work at least 30 hours a week. So that means 90 days from January 3rd, he'll be eligible for benefits.
so we're gonna have him on, we're gonna keep him on then specifically at 30 hours?
Fenstermaker's trying to, supposedly monitoring that.
Yeah, he
Yes.
is.
Yes.
Okay, so, I said, right now, we predominantly need him for plowing.
Yeah, he's running a little truck, yeah.
So are we gonna be using him then as seasonal?
No, he's going to be full-time and
We're gonna,
That's what I'm asking.
I'm gonna make a motion when he's eligible, when it meets his time frame to hire him full-time.
Okay, so I make clear, sure,
Yeah.
no problem with that. Seems like a good guy.
yeah, effective April 3rd, he'll have his 90 days as 90 days in to qualify for benefits.
Yeah.
Is the board okay with
That's
that?
the date, yeah, that's been the intention all along.
Okay, I just wanted to
Yeah.
clarify that.
And he seems to be working well
Yeah,
with the group. yeah.
okay. Do you need a motion for that or no?
No, I think that's gonna be,
Yeah.
Okay,
that's just part of the record. We've already given them the job, it's,
okay. And then the other thing I have is Christine Blazer, treasurer of the fire department, approached me. Pass that down. Riley's got one already. Here's your copy. That we had been using, over the years when I was treasurer of the fire department, we started out with, her name was Libby Dittrick and Associates. She was a phenomenal accountant that did our financial review. She sold the business to an employee who then sold it to, was it NMS? Something like that. And they were difficult when I dealt with them. They've become even more difficult as the fire departments dealt with them. So they went on a search to find someone, and they found Nicholas Giardina. And and I asked him to send me a little bio, and he says, as promised, I wanted to email you about my experience and how it relates specifically to assisting the Auburn Fire Department. I am presently the fiscal officer for the East Geauga Fire District, which serves Middlefield Village and Middlefield Township. We also provide accounting services to the Village of Burton Fire Department and the City of Chardon Fire Department. I'm also the fiscal officer for the Village of Middlefield for the past 13 years. Additionally, I'm the owner of Advanced Accounting Consultants, an accounting firm here in Middlefield. And Christine asked me, if, as fiscal officer of Auburn, if I would approve, and I said, oh yeah, how can you not? I mean, this guy will be perfect to do their year-end financial review, so.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. It
The
definitely
board
seems,
agrees, then, I mean, it's their decision, but they asked me my opinion, so.
yeah. So, there you go.
Yeah.
Your opinion, because they happen to be here.
And finally, one last thing. Just to go back down memory lane, I think Riley got a copy of this too, so you can pass that to PJ. The company that was handling the distribution of the tax levy refund money from last year, September, I heard, back last summer. The total amount was $751,931.51. That was a net distribution. They cleared $696,044.12. So after couple attempts to get the money back to the residents, there was $31,291.50 worth of checks that were reported as stale, and another $24,595.89 as undeliverable. So they were able to collect 88.73% of the money, and that 11.13 or 17% will, or 27% remaining will go to the Haslam Cleveland Brown Stadium Fund, I guess.
I'm glad it's being good.
That'll go into the unclaimed funds.
A lot of those were estates. That's the sad part.
Oh, was
A lot
it?
of those were estates, yes.
Yeah,
they
because
were.
I know we even made an attempt to contact some people.
Oh, I made dozens of calls, yeah.
Oh, and that helped. And that's all I have.
Okay, old business, we've already taken care of that. Highway certification, we've taken care of that. Okay, Spring Water Sun Partners, 2026 membership. That's $1,403. PJ, would you like to say something about that? You've worked probably the most closely with.
Over the years, I have, Gene McCune worked with them quite a bit for the last 4 years. I think that was part of the facilities, properties liaison. You know, it's something that a lot of new trustees want to review this. What do they actually do for us? And I was one of those new trustees way back when, because the Watershed Partners was kind of a new organization shortly before I started. You do question things like this. I don't know why. After knowing what I know now, we've used them, we've utilized them for grant applications over the years. They were instrumental in getting the playground going up there at the park. That was, I think we have 2 separate grants for playground installations. We've used them here in the zoning department when we did a large amendment for riparian setbacks. That was an ongoing thing that I think we held that public hearing open for about a year, trying to get people to comment on, Riley, I agree with your take from your campaign, that zoning is essentially a property taking, balanced on good for the community. And that's how we enlisted that's how and why we enlisted their help for the technical data and specifics as to why riparian setbacks were beneficial to the township as a whole. So you got from there to playground installation to, I think Gene chased some grant money with them for, to begin this restroom facility we're gonna eventually have up at the park. It's kind of a broad spectrum thing that they do for us. Now, that $1,403, do you get that benefit every year? Is it a bargain every year? Probably not. Ultimately, as we've used that organization for what their capabilities do over the years, I think it'd be good for the township to remain a member. I do. There was it 3%, Dan? What was the increase this year? Was it 3?
Yeah,
Something like that? I don't know, it's there somewhere, I saw it.
The only thing, I emailed our contact, she was really nice. I said, they did one thing for us in '25 and they did one thing for us in '24. In '25, there was a prospective buyer on the corner of Munn and Bartholomew, and they somehow found this nonprofit, and they did some work on setbacks and invasive plants, is what she told me. So that's cool. And then in '24, though, I'll just read it. In '24, Chagrin River assisted Auburn Township with a grant application to ODNR NatureWorks program for installation of accessible restroom facilities at Auburn Community Park, including drafting sections of the application, preparing attachments, assisting with letters of support. We were able to assist with this without additional fees, because my question to her was, if we solicit them for work, the $1,400, is that like a retainer? And do they bill us additionally? I had no clue, so I asked questions. But the reason I'm reading this, what happened in '24, as you all know now, we do have a septic that is installed at Auburn Community Park. So it would be good to start paying attention to how we can integrate bathrooms.
Yes, it is.
And according to this, in '24, some of the groundwork was laid out from this company already. So what I will do is try to, I asked her for example, she only included the 2025 example. I'd like to see what was done in '24, because as far as I know, that would be a pretty good starting point for eventually trying to get bathrooms up there now that we have a septic system sitting idle. We just need to get the bathroom part on top of it. And that's all I got from her. But it was really helpful. She got back to me and told me they're willing to just reach out, they'll work on whatever. But I don't know the cost structure, I don't, but the $1,400 for a retainer, it seems fair that they're trying, we should just utilize them more, I guess is my point. See where that limit is.
When we did those grant applications, there was no further expenses beyond the membership. If you happen to get a grant, there's quite a bit of paperwork that goes along with it. I mean, there's a ton of paperwork that goes along with this. And we did hire them to manage the grant, that we were in compliance with everything we needed to do to
The
get
bathrooms?
grants. No, not the bathrooms. I'm going back to the
Pavilion, she mentioned?
pavilion. Yeah, you got some money there too. That's right. I kind of forgot about that one. That was like $40,000. Yeah. I think they managed that grant. I think they managed the playground grant, at least one of them, that's an additional fee. based on the size of the grant. The problem with that is they've had to cut staff like everybody else has. I don't know if they're doing that grant management anymore since that happened. So,
Well, you know what, from what I'm hearing from even both of you guys, that I'm gonna make a motion to pay the invoice for the,
You already signed the check.
oh, we already signed the check?
no, it's worth discussing. It was worth a discussion. I don't begrudge that at all.
You
That's,
kinda have to approve it.
why not?
We've never had before.
It's a big fat juicy target for some politicians, I gotta say. Watershed Partners always has been for some.
I don't know, thought it made its way to the agenda for a reason, like we should do something with it.
Pay 'em.
That I wouldn't even put it on there.
With the board's permission, I wrote a little article for a newsletter a couple of years ago about the Chagrin River watershed. I won't read the whole thing, but can I just read a little bit?
Certainly.
Okay, so this is for everybody to hear and know, because who are they? You know, what do they do? They're instrumental in providing and making sure we have clean water in our area. They play an important role in maintaining the health and purity of the Great Lakes ecosystem in northern Ohio, and we're all connected to it. We're all connected to Lake Erie. They also work closely with the Geauga Soil and Water Conservation District. This was very interesting to me. I did not know this. The Chagrin River watershed is known statewide as having a very unique habitat quality and many cold water designated streams, which is a relatively rare designation in the state of Ohio. The Ohio EPA gave this classification to the Chagrin River watershed. It is a very rare, very high-quality designation and is extremely hard to obtain. So we have that in our area. I think that's terrific. In fact, there are no other watersheds where an entire sub-watershed has been designated as a cold water habitat like ours. And that's in our area. I just think that's great. So I could go on and on, but this designation as one of the highest quality aquatic life area plays a major role in attracting people to the Chagrin Valley. And they offer, if anybody ever has any questions about, you know, if there's a stream on your property or rain barrels or what to do with excess water, they are ready, able, and willing to help. They will come to your house. I think they're a terrific group of people. And I never received anything from them, but when I did some research, I'm proud to have them in our neighborhood.
For the record, oh, sorry, you're done.
The
I was
end.
going to give her their name.
Yeah.
But for the record, Heather Elmer is the executive director, if anybody wanted that info. And then I just caught, they leveraged the $1,400 that we give them to have a usable amount, $51,800 from our $1,400. How they leverage it, maybe they have, you know, matching donors, I guess. She didn't get into that, but hypothetically, our $1,400 turns into over 50 grand, so seems pretty neat.
Okay, I'll be the one guy to go against them. They're responsible for the majority of mosquitoes we have. All right, beat that one to death. All right, the last one we have is the NOPEC Community Grant Award for $1,500. Historically, we have spread that money around to, got it here, $375 each to the Boy Scouts, $375 to Giggles and Stitches 4-H, $375 to Granny's Kids, which is a 4-H group, and Northeast Ohio Girl Scouts. So I'm going to make a motion that we distribute the NOPEC Community Grant Award we just received to those groups.
Second.
EJ?
Yep.
Riley?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Did you get all those?
Yeah.
Well, here, tell you what, if she,
Thank you.
okay. Save the date. Martin Luther King Day was today. We already saved that. Zoning Commission meeting on 1/22 at 7 PM. All these meetings are at the ad building. Board of Trustees will meet on 2/2 at 7 PM. PZA 2/10 at 7 PM. Zoning Commission 2/12 at 7 PM. 26/16 is President's Day. The office will be closed.
There's two of these.
And we will have our meeting though, Board of Trustees meeting at 7 o'clock on 2/16. And on 2/26, the zoning commission meeting. Questions or comments? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, there was reference to a gentleman named Nicholas Iridema, and, president of the Geauga Fire Department, and I would be grateful, this is Diane Jones, I would be grateful for spelling on that name, which I have never had privilege at these
You ready?
meetings before.
You ready?
Pleasure.
Giardina. And Nicholas is spelled like Nicholas.
So basically just the way it sounds.
Thanks, TJ, you're a big sport.
Middle initial is P.
Thanks for the memories.
He's a gentleman and a scholar.
I was wondering if if anybody has any ideas, thoughts about what's going on between Optimum and Suddenlink right now. Our cable was turned off from Optimum, and we tried to call Optimum, and they said, we're done there, you have to call Spectrum. We called Spectrum, and Spectrum told us that they have nothing going on in our area now. So right now, we've paid for our cable through the end of the month, and we have no cable. And Optimum said there's no technicians, nobody out here to do anything anymore.
And we have Optimum and mine is still operating. So, is it, have you been cut off, or is there actual damage or something to your,
Well, they say there's nothing wrong, that there's no outages or anything like that, but we have zip, just like you unhook the cable.
and they can't send somebody out to,
We talked to Optimum first, they sent us the Spectrum, we called Spectrum, this is all today, called Spectrum, they checked and said that they have no service yet in this area. And so I called Optimum back, we have talked to them over Facebook. I got a hold of some very nice person on the phone who has called me back 3 times to tell me that she contacted whoever she contacts and they can't do anything anymore in this area. They can't send a technician out, they can't turn it back on, they can't refund our money, they can't do anything.
okay.
So I didn't know if anybody else was affected by
I
that.
got it with Cindy Balance, man, you got some trustees too, you answer questions.
I mean, we got that letter from Spectrum that said December 22nd, everything was gonna transition.
Right.
And then we got another letter from them that said that date was wrong, and they would contact us again with a new date, and we've heard nothing since then.
When that was going on, residents were starting to speak with Mrs. Dozel, so I reached out.
So it's not just me.
There's this, well, it was right, if you remember, it was right before Christmas and New Year's. So I was really afraid that like people were gonna really freak out because they're having people over and then they just get cut off. Because the letter read very poorly. So I reached out to people right at Spectrum and they were in the process of redacting that first letter because the marketing person made a grave error sending it in the first place because it didn't make sense. They weren't gonna cut anybody off. Anyways, to help you directly, I will give you Mr. Nyheisel, I'm pronouncing this wrong, Nyheisel's number, because him and I had been in contact a few times over those letters, and he said, like, if there's anything really screwed up, let me know, because he is the account specialist. So if you call him, throw me under the bus, say, Riley gave your number out, that's fine. But do me a favor and call or email into admin or my email, and let us know what you found so I'm not chasing your tail.
Sure.
And then we can disseminate that to everybody in case something weird's happening where they're starting to cut off chunks of people. So none of us wants that, I have Optimum too.
What's his phone number?
Better spell his name.
Yeah,
Diane gets it right.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate that.
yeah, Matthew, Mathew, and I'm not gonna try to pronounce it again, Neiheisel. Neiheisel.
Isn't it?
Neiheisel. So, his office is 234-208-4767. I suppose we can email him, but when I spoke with him, he was well connected and plugged into all the different moving parts, the marketing, the tech people. He's overseeing our account in Auburn directly.
Is he the gentleman that was at the
Correct,
trustees
yep,
meeting?
yes.
Okay.
So
So
that is-
he's from Spectrum.
Yes, but he understands the purchase of Optimum and how it's transferring and what they're supposed to be doing.
Okay.
So, and I don't mind emailing him too, but if he tells you that's a mistake or you talk to the wrong people, you get you turned down, whatever, we'd all be interested in knowing.
Yep.
So we can
Thank you.
help everybody. If that doesn't work, there's probably a couple other people in here, but
Oh, try
I don't know if we have to bother them all. Yeah, he had his managers and stuff in there as well, so I think he'll help.
All right, thanks.
PJ. All right, any other questions, comments, criticisms, complaints? All right, not done, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
PJ,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes. Adjourn.
8:43 PM.